What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new here. Hey, hello. My name is Angela. I make videos about law school, lawyer life, and all things in between. Today's video, we're going to be talking about cold calling. Now, the more proper term is called the Socratic method, but in law school, it's commonly known as cold calling. And so many people have so many questions about it, and so many people dread this about law school. So we're going to talk about what is cold calling, what to expect with cold calling, and how to handle cold calling. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you guys a quick story time about a law school cold calling experience that will hopefully kind of ease your mind a little bit for those of you who are going to be going into law school and a little bit worried about being cold called. So let's jump right in. So essentially, cold calling is when the professor randomly calls on you during class to answer questions or hypotheticals about either the reading, an assignment, or the lesson that they teach. There are a few theories about cold calling and why law professors use the Socratic cold calling method. And one of the main ones is to incentivize students to pay attention in class, okay? Like, think back to college. In college, you typically didn't talk unless you raised your hand. You know, professors would more so talk at you, teach at you. There wasn't sort of a collaborative experience where you guys were just having a conversation unless you initiated it as the student. In law school, they want to make sure you're awake. They want to make sure you're paying attention. They want to make sure you're taking notes. They incentivize you to pay attention in class as well as be prepared for class, like have read for class, because the possibility of being cold called is out there. So yeah, that's one of the main reasons why the cold calling method is used. Another reason is to challenge you as a law student to think critically. As a lawyer, you're going to have to use your analytical skills. You're going to have to problem solve. You're going to have to think critically. So this is just an opportunity to allow you to kind of sharpen those skills of kind of thinking on your feet, because that's something that you're going to have to do as a lawyer, and you're going to have to think outside of the box as a lawyer. So those, in my opinion, are probably the two main reasons why law professors use the cold calling method. Okay, so now we're going to go into what to expect with being cold called. So professors do it different ways, okay? Some are nicer than others. So some professors, you literally have no idea. You show up to class and it's like Russian roulette, okay? I've seen it in my classes where there have been people who have been called on multiple times throughout the semester, and then there were people who never got called on. Some professors just do it very, very randomly. Others are a little bit more lenient and strategic about it, so they'll tell you, oh, you're up for cold calling this week, or, you know, this month, or whatever, or this group, it's the possibility you can. Some professors take the easy route and they just do it by alphabetical order to make sure that everyone kind of gets their turn at being cold called. So, you know, kind of on the more lenient spectrum, you can kind of prepare because you kind of know, right? But for that traditional cold calling where you just don't know, you just show up to class every day wondering, like, is today going to be the day? And I remember myself as a law student, at some point, I just wanted to get it over with. I wanted to hurry up and have it be my turn so I can experience it and be done with the anxiety all about it. So it really will just depend on the professor. Now, I say all that to say is it is okay if you don't know the right answer. A lot of times professors ask questions that are kind of outside the box. It wouldn't have been a direct answer in reading, so you wouldn't know the answer anyway. So it is okay to not know the answer. But you do need to show the professor that you are prepared. So you do need to kind of show that, okay, I might not know the direct answer, but I have read, I have prepared, I just don't know the answer. And then for some people who actually get the right answer, the professor will a lot of times go on to challenge you and add in more facts or another hypothetical to challenge you to think further and to kind of trip you up. So having the right answer is not, you know, a big deal. Like, knowing the right answer is not a big deal. It's just more so about being prepared and being able to at least have a conversation and speak about it to show that you've done enough of the reading or, you know, listening to have a conversation about whatever the question is. Another thing about cold calling is it's not typically graded. It typically doesn't affect your grades. So again, not a huge deal. You know, you don't need to spend 17 hours, you know, in a day trying to prep just in case you get cold called, because again, it doesn't typically matter for grades. Some professors are sticklers, and so if you get cold called on, you know, multiple times and you aren't prepared, they might dock your grade. But that's kind of on the rare side. Cold calling typically is not graded, so it's not something that affects your grades. And then the good news, it gets better. After 1L year, most professors just do away with cold calling. It's literally like a for lack of a better term, like a hazing thing, you know, something that kind of challenge you in the beginning. But after 1L year, a lot of professors kind of chill out on the cold calling, and it's a little bit more volunteer based. Okay, last thing we're going to talk about is how to survive cold calling. So not surprisingly, the thought of being randomly called on out of the blue in front of all of your classmates probably is very, very scary for most people and causes a lot of anxiety in many law students. So how to kind of get past that like fear of being cold called? Well, the main thing you have to do is just be prepared. Like I've already talked about before, make sure you've done the readings, make sure you've done a case brief, even if it's just a book brief. Make sure you've kind of like summarized the rule, issues, facts, you know, and conclusion type situation, and make sure that you take good notes. Also, make sure you're listening in class, okay? Because if you get called on and you're not even paying attention, that could be, you might kind of annoy the professor and they might not take it so easy on you. So the first and main thing you can do is just be prepared for class. The second thing is to be confident, you guys. Even if you aren't sure the answer, just exude confidence. For me, it was more so I just wanted to get it over with, to say I did it and to feel it and then to be okay with it. And so just being confident, getting up, you know, because they make you stand up. I don't think I said that, but they make you stand up. So it's not just you're cold called and you have to answer the question. A lot of times the professor makes you stand up in front of the entire class. I should have said that in the beginning. So that can be hard, but just be confident. Stand up, keep those, you know, shoulders tall, and just answer the question and have a conversation. Try to think about it like a conversation, but be confident and don't show your fear, okay? But also do not be too cocky, because then you might annoy the professor and then they'll keep challenging you. They'll take you as challenging them, and then it might be like a duel. And then you might be their favorite person to be cold called. Like, I've seen that before where a professor kind of picks on a student who kind of gave them a little headache. So be prepared and be confident. Those are the two main things that I would say is how to survive, you know, your first or second cold call experience. All right, you guys, so I hope that quick explanation about cold calling kind of helped you guys understand what it is and kind of how to prepare for it. But before I go, like I said, I want to tell you guys a quick story time. So I'm taking you guys all the way back to 1L year when I was in my crim law class, and our professor, who won't be named, had sort of a reputation for being like a little scary. And I remember he had a very serious look. By the end of the year, you guys, we realized like he was basically a teddy bear. Like, he was so nice, but he had a reputation for being mean and scary, and he kind of exuded that in the first semester. So he's, you know, doing his lesson, and then he starts cold calling. So his first cold call, he calls on one of my classmates who was in my section. So he asked her the definition of murder. Now, this class was based on common law, so it's a really short, easy definition, but if you didn't like study it, why would you know it? I will never forget the definition based on that experience, and I just was a witness, so I know she'll never forget it. But he asked her the definition of murder, which is the unlawful killing of another person with malice aforethought. Like I said, y'all, I will never forget it after watching that. But he asked her, and, you know, she was kind of timid, kind of meek, and she did not know. And so he kind of like just kept going with her, had her standing up for a long, like, I will never forget it. It was just a horror story. Like, you know, she was turning red. She seemed to me more of a, you know, on the shyer side. And so it probably was already a big deal of her to be kind of speaking in front of the entire class. And then you're asking her a question that she doesn't know. We're all newbies, you know, it's 1L, first semester. And so it was just crazy, y'all. And, you know, I'm sure she went home mortified that day. And honestly, it was one of those situations, like, I've been out of law school for years and I still remember it. So I'm sure she still remembers it. And it was just, I'm sure, a mortifying experience for her. However, you guys, remember what I said. Cold calling is not a huge deal. It doesn't define your grades. It doesn't define you, okay? It's not this scary thing that you think it is. And so proof of that is that same lady, that same girl who got called on and asked, you know, what is murder, and didn't know it and was mortified, graduated as our valedictorian for our class. She graduated as #1 in our class. So I tell that story just to say, if you have a terrible cold calling experience, if you don't know the answer, it's not the end of the world, okay? She probably had the worst experience out of everyone in our section. Section A, hey Section A if you're watching. And she graduated #1, okay? So let that be a lesson to you. It's not a big deal. Just relax. You got this, and go kill it, all right? So with that, you guys, I'm gonna let y'all go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below what you want to see next. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. And also, don't forget to go follow me on Instagram at _theaspiringboss. You guys, we are growing and glowing over there. I post at least 5 times a week on Instagram now. So if you want more content from me, if YouTube once a week is not enough, hit me up on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.